The officials appointed for this contest by the British Boxing Board and Control, the steward in charge, Mr. Ken Honeyball, the timekeeper, Mr. John Lee of Plymouth, the judges scoring the contest at ringside, Mr. Howard Foster, Mr. Mark Green and Mr. Paul Thomas of England, and the man in charge of the action tonight, the referee, Mr. Richie Davis of All Hallows in Kent, who will now give his final instructions to both boxers.
Okay, fellas, you've both had your instructions in the dressing room. You know what's expected of you. Behave yourselves, do as you're told, defend yourselves at all times. Shake hands.
In this atmospheric cauldron in the autumn, Scott Dann made the Lonsdale belt his own property forever. Now a new challenge for the vacant Commonwealth 11 stone 6 belt against a fellow southpaw and a bit of an unknown quantity. From Pine Falls on the banks of the Winnipeg River, Larry Razor Sharpe says it's his dream just to fight for this prestigious old belt. Can he expose any vulnerability in Dan, or will the Plymouth talent take him to school? We might find out quickly.
A little bit worried that Sharpe may be overawed. The first couple of punches were well out of range punches with no intentions of landing, and the jabs he's throwing at the moment are the same. So it doesn't look the most confident sort in the world there. So if nothing happens in the opening round here to boost his confidence, we're going to have some problems here. But he's very good. He's hurt already.
Hurt by the power of Dan. 64% knockout ratio for the British champion. Already Richie Davis reading the riot act, and already Larry Sharpe feeling the force of Scott Dynamite Dann.
Well, first impressions are that Sharpe is a little bit out of his depth here. He's lunging forward. He doesn't know how to box his way in. Doesn't have a look of confidence about him. Never been at this level before. And already he's been hurt and shaken.
He is on a winning run and holds the Canadian title. But this a massive, massive step up for Larry Sharpe. Former kickboxer who's been a pro for 4 years. And Richie Davis is on his case.
Yeah, well, it's part of the referee's job to give us a tidy, clean-cut fight, but as I say, early signs, Sharpe not too sure what he's doing in there, I'm afraid. But Scott Dann has been patient. He's found out already he has the power to hurt with one shot, so he's just winding up looking for that shot.
Why not playing with your toe? Dan! Do as you're told.
Richie Davis really having things to say in this first round. Dan trying to get the jab working. Again, they bundle together.
Well, I think Richie Davis has had the busiest first round so far.
Left hand from Dan. Wry smile from the challenger from Canada. What has he got to offer? Because at the moment, there's already a feeling that Dan is asserting control.
Well, Dan's doing the right thing. He's not rushing. He's not allowing himself to be frustrated diving in. It's maybe going to take a round or so to get this fellow to settle down. So Dan's just taking his time, trying to try for opportunities, but really it's been a quiet opening round.
There's land one there, sharp, but it's been careful and steady from Scott Dann. A very warm welcome back to the little fortress that Scott Dann has made his own. Never lost here, and he's had a good start against Larry Sharpe.
Yep, well, he's already hurt him in the opening round, staggered him. As you can see, they're not even a full-blooded shot. Good little sharp left hook, but you can see the effect in his legs.
Here's the second round, the familiar purple colours of Scott Dann Stands 5'10.5", just a little taller Larry Sharpe in his red and black with the Canadian flag and Razor, the nickname, emblazoned on his waistband. Defended the Canadian title and done well as a pro over there, but on different ground tonight. And at his level, Dan has looked very capable, Jim.
Yeah, he's really on a roll at the moment. He's confident. He's patient here, but maybe just a little bit too patient, because it's going to be up to him to make the fight here. Sharpe is still throwing the out-of-range sort of don't hit me punches, if you like. He's not stepping in with these shots. So Dan does have to be careful that it doesn't turn into a mess. But he wants to start showing a little feint, force the fellow in to make mistakes. I don't think that will be too difficult. And then get his own punches home. The longer this lasts, it's quite possible Dan could drop down to his level, and this could be a bit of a mess. We do not want that.
Scott Dan has been stopped a couple of times in his career, and there was an air of caution about the way he dealt with his British title defence against Wayne Alcock here in September. It went the distance, and he showed everybody that night he can really box as well.
Well, Dan is going to have to go and make things happen. He's waited for the first round and a half for something to happen. Nothing has happened. He's going to have to go and force things a little bit more.
Sharpe very much on the back foot. And not just getting his rhythm together yet, Dan, quite. Waited to see their hero again start to cheer. There's huge expectation every time he gets in the ring.
Yeah, well, he is an exciting fighter, and he does enjoy having a tear-up as well as showing some boxing skills. But it's all down to him tonight, because Sharpe very negative so far.
Yep, tentative, waiting. Hardly anything he's shown, Larry Sharpe.
See, you can't just march into a fellow who wants to clinch. You have to show a little feint, force him in to make the first move. He's going to have to do that.
From Sky Sports next Friday fight night, Carl Froch, another of our brightest young talents. Commonwealth super middleweight title fight for him against Dale Westerman. A Friday fight night from 10 next week on Sky Sports 1.
You're watching Scott Dan, the British middleweight champion. Next week it will be Carl Froch defending his Commonwealth super middleweight title. This at 11 stone 6. Vacant Commonwealth belt up for grabs. On the line, is this a further notch in the Scott Dan success story? Coming back so well after that brave defeat to Howard Eastman a few years back. And at the moment, we've seen very little from the challenge in front of him in 31-year-old Larry Sharpe.
I think Sharpe was just a little bit overawed. He's a long way from home. It's a major title. So the first big attack from Scott Dan, covered well, you have to say, by Sharpe.
Just grabbing on though, Sharpe, and Dan starting to find his range, and Sharpe tries to get a couple off himself, but the cleaner work coming from Dan, and remember, he's got the power in there.
Really, the only danger for Dan here I can see is he's going to be made to look bad with the tactics of Sharpe. You know, so he's just going to have to keep his concentration levels, get his punches off as he moves forward, because if he moves in and then throws punches, he's going to be grabbed and mauled and spoiled. So punch as he moves forward.
Still Sharpe back pedals around the ring. It caught Scott Dan. Just a little reminder.
That is actually exactly what the fight needs. It needs Sharpe to come up with something, something to give him success. If he could shake Dan, maybe give himself some confidence, because he's been completely devoid of confidence since the opening bell.
And that may be the one chink in the Dan armour, the chin. He has been down on occasions, sometimes criticised for having a straight back and head movement not quite as smooth as the rest of his game.
I mean, this is the kind of fight you can make mistakes in, because there's so little coming his way that's in range. So your concentration, you can start being hypnotised with what you're doing and forget the other fellow's going to do something, and maybe that's just what happened there, caught by surprise as opposed to being hurt.
Lunges in there, Sharpe. In a very unorthodox way. And Dan regains control behind that jab. A little bit more from Sharpe in that round, but not too much. Larry Sharpe continues to stand in his corner between rounds. Strange that, but he did have a bit of success, Jim.
Yeah, that was a nice little left hook, but I mean, I think it's more of a surprise to Dan. You can see the little reaction in the legs, but it was straight back down to business again. But I think Dan has to make things a little bit hotter for Sharpe. He's not making things hot enough. He's allowing Sharpe to box at his own pace, and he's spoiling a bit. So really, we're expecting better from Scott Dan. We know he can do better. It's an awkward night, but you don't want this dragging on too long.
Yes, he is the former English amateur champion, and in fight number 26, Scott Dan won 23 of them. Made the British belt his own, beating Steve Mendel, turned back challengers last year, and hopes that 2006 will propel him towards maybe a European title. Needs to win this first, but at the moment on course.
I think he's just trying to be a little bit too precise, Dan. I think it's a situation where he's going to, I'm not asking for recklessness, but he's going to have to take a few chances, force this fellow to make mistakes. He's going to have to raise the pace and maintain it. He's given this fellow too much room to mess about and survive. See, he's got to stick with this. That's it, stick with this. This is exactly what you want. Stay on this fellow, don't give him anywhere to escape to. If there's an escape route, he'll take it.
Sustain the attack, pin him down.
Yep, make things a little bit hot. Just set the pace, raise the pace, maintain it, put this fellow under pressure, and he'll make mistakes. Nothing surer.
Because when he comes in, he does look crude. Sharpe. Proving a tricky assignment, though, for Scott Dan, as he attempts to corner the Canadian and unleash a volley, a combination maybe, that will just unsettle him.
Well, the early signs were that Sharpe could make Dan look bad. I mean, he's not doing anything silly, he's not reckless, not so much making him look bad, but not giving him a chance to look good. I'm sure Scott Dan is not really enjoying this. Good job.
Solid and accurate from Scott Dan. There's a danger that he will get frustrated unless he gets that breakthrough, but just to maintain the concentration, get the job done. That's what's important.
That was better. To let the punches go at long range. Sharpe didn't have the opportunity to spoil, but as soon as he gets close, Sharpe was going to spoil.
Just a weak, feeble jab from Larry Sharpe to end the fourth.
Then throw the hooks, right? You're throwing the hooks a little bit too early.
Right? Don't get too close. Right. You know what I mean? No, you had a good body shot, but you got too close. All right?
Chris Sanagar, Nigel Christian, they want the jab reasserted.
Yeah, Chris Sandiger's just repeated what I'm saying. Don't get close because the fellow is going to spoil. He's got to get the punches up as he moves forward. He's going to have to raise the tempo, give this fellow something to worry about.
Second third of this Commonwealth Middleweight title fight. It's the 108th round in Scott Dann's professional career. And it's the 90th of Larry Sharpe's. Fought at a totally different level. But he has won 14 of 16 and is the Canadian champion.
Going to have to be a little bit careful the way Sharpe lunges forward now and again. There's not a clash of heads that Dan comes off worse in, because under the Commonwealth rules, he'll be in trouble.
Yep, the fight won't go to the 3 judges if there is an accidental clash of heads. And there are the judges at ringside tonight in Howard Foster, Mark Green and Paul Thomas.
That was better, a 3-punch combination with the power going into the 3rd punch. He may block the 1st, 2nd, but the 3rd one will score. This is it, single punches and trying to be precise with this fellow, not really working.
Left hand from Sharpe, better cluster from Dan. That's good when he gets the long range and can put his punches together. Nice spell from Scott Dann.
See, I think if Dan knocks some of the enthusiasm, not that he came with an awful lot of enthusiasm, but if Dan shakes him a couple of times, I think he would probably crumble quickly. But at the moment, he's coping with the attacks coming his way. He's not happy, but he's not unduly perturbed. So Dan wants to keep this tempo going. Now, this is much better. You can hear the way the crowd are responding here.
Just picked it up, Scott Dann. Larry Sharpe has been beaten twice before, but never stopped. So if he could do that, Dan, that will send out a bit of a statement. But the chin so far, okay for Sharpe.
Pull him off.
Just the first signs now that Sharpe not coping with these attacks as he was doing. He's maybe tiring a little bit himself because he's been under pressure, forced to work in every round. Not enough pressure for my liking, but Dan's getting just a little bit longer to get his punches off now. So things looking a bit brighter.
Time to start breaking him up.
This is it. Just dent whatever confidence he has found. Much better.
Yeah, good round for Scott Dann. Larry Sharpe shakes his head.
That's your best round. That's your best round, sir. You felt that, didn't you? Good round.
Yeah, best round, says Nigel Christian. Spot on there, and you can see over 5 times as many punches landed for Scott Dann. I mean, what ambition has Sharpe come with, or is he just not good enough at the moment?
He's certainly not good enough, but I think Sharpe probably feels now that at least he's put up a show, he's got a few rounds behind him. I mean, at no time has he looked like a man who thinks he's here to win a title. He's here to survive, try to put on some sort of show. So maybe now is the time to really raise the tempo and take charge.
Sixth round, Scott Dann from St. Jude's here in Plymouth. Picked up the pace in the 5th. And the corner, I think, sense that this is the time to strike. Sharpe has been negative. He's fiddled his way this far. And can Dan just put the punches together in the style that he's grown and become accustomed to?
Well, Sharpe's trying to come forward. It's a good idea for Dan to allow him to come forward, see if he'll open up a little bit, draw some punches. But no, he's pushing him back onto the ropes. Allow him to come forward, punish him for the mistakes.
Larry Sharpe's own story is a success one. He was a wayward, overweight, plagued by alcohol, and he found the gym, whipped himself into shape, became a PE instructor, and is well thought of back in Manitoba, Canada. Doesn't want to let those fans down. But in reality, is it just that Dan is a far better fighter? Look at that jab, left through the middle. Sharpe comes back. And just all of a sudden, right hands, and Scott Dan has got a crisis on his hand here in the sixth. They're opening up, toe to toe. What about this?
Well, was that right out of the blue or what? Obviously, Scott Dan, the most shot man, is shaken again. He was shaken by these punches. He's been hit twice before and come back. Well, he's having to do it again here. What a disaster this would be if this fight were to turn around and Scott Dan were to lose it.
33-1 on with the bookmakers, Scott Dan to win. But just for 30 seconds here in the sixth, it nearly went out the window for him. But he's come back and he's turning it around again, the British champion.
Well, once again, Dan has shown the grit that he's had to show 2 or 3 times in his career, but those were worrying moments.
Well, after 5 average rounds, what a session the sixth has been. Drama here for the Commonwealth title.
See, I think already Sharpe has done better than expected, and now he's found a little bit of confidence.
Don't get in a war.
Out of the blue.
Well, I tell you what, that was some piece of action there. Dan was having things so much his own way, he wasn't thinking about defence, so he was caught in the hop there. But by this time, he really should have tightened things up, got the chin down, the hands up, and started pumping the punches. But I think a little bit of macho took over, and he started firing back, and really there was some dangerous times there for Scott Dan, but as he's done before, grits his teeth, comes firing back, but those were worrying moments there for the Dan corner.
You just never know with the unpredictability of this sport, Jim.
Don't go square
especially up at the middleweight limit. I mean, everybody carries a punch. You can't allow your concentration to drop.
Second half of a fight that exploded into life in the sixth. Larry Sharpe only has 5 knockouts on the record, but my word, did he shake Scott Dan. What happens next? Is it back to his boxing?
Well, I feel he's done better than he expected. The look on his face in the opening round, he's still there. He's posing problems, he's getting punches home. Now, at a time when he should absolutely have no confidence whatsoever, he's found some. So now Scott Dan has a job in his hands, because he's tried to be too precise all the way through, when he should have raised the tempo and grabbed this fight by the scruff of the neck.
He has gone 10 rounds a couple of times, Larry Sharpe, and he came with a reputation of being a gritty, brave man, and he's shown some durability, if not always the will to win.
Well, that little bit of drama that the fight certainly needed. Dan still trying to be just a little bit too precise.
Chris Sanagar over in the blue corner wants Dan to use that jab again. And they believe that's the weapon that sets everything up from. Very strong from the southpaw stance. Nice left hand too. Dan is just too predictable against a fellow who's in there to survive.
He hasn't come up with anything out of the ordinary, nothing that Sharpe can't really cope with. As I keep saying, just trying to be too precise when he should let some punches go, let 3 and 4 punches go, put power into the last one. But he's allowing Sharpe to box at his own pace, and this is, we're going to see 12 rounds of this if he doesn't change. That's better.
Driving shots to the guard, or hoping to get through the Sharpe defence, which has been fairly competent.
Sharpe is actually edging Dan back towards the ropes for the first time. Doing it in quite a constructive manner too, as though he knows what he's doing. He's actually gaining confidence. This is amazing. Okay, the work is not up to scratch. He was claiming the centre of the ring there, pushing Dan back.
Yep, you'd never have believed that after the first 5 rounds. Crowds start to rally the Plymouth middleweight.
Got to pick it up a little bit. Got to get some points here. Go to your left a bit more. Make him miss that jab, okay? Practice that.
Where round is it?
Stepping. What round is this?
8th round. Neil Billette
Getting okay.
And Danny Sharpe, Larry's brother, in there.
Okay.
2 more, then I'll pick it up.
2 more and then I'll pick it up. How long does he think this is going on for?
I don't know what the plan is here, but suddenly the corner seem to think they're in with a shout now. They didn't think that a couple of rounds ago. So we know Scott Dan can do better, so
I'll bring the other.
now's the time to come up with it.
Yeah, but he's going to close up. Keep that on.
Yeah, just a more serious expression on the face of Scott Dan. It's not been an easy night's work. The relaxed rhythm hasn't really been reached from Dan, who's controlled most of the fight, apart from the wobbly moments in the 6th. It's a strange performance from Larry Sharpe. Does he really think he can win this, the Canadian?
Well, I haven't given him a round as yet. He's done a good 20 seconds or so, and that's about it. He's always been far too negative. We've had some quiet rounds when very few clean punches have been landed. But Sharpe has always been far too negative to win anything in my card. But he's shaken Dan, so I mean, if he thinks he can turn things around, it's time to go for broke.
Well, he had that success in the 6th round, Sharpe. And maybe he'll be banking on landing another couple on the chin of Dan. That's what the Canadians were saying, that was the weak link that they needed to expose.
Let's see some work from you, both of you.
Let's see some work from you, says Richie Davis.
Yep, and I think a few people will agree with that. It's still, I mean, it's down to Scott Dan. He's the one who's packed the hall tonight. He's the one who, the dynamite, it's missing, I'm afraid. Still that, trying to be too precise, picking the punches when he should really raise the tempo. Stay in there, this is it. Get him under pressure, keep him there. Okay, when you're challenging for a title, the main thing is the result. But there's no real signs of danger here. Dan needs to be committing himself a little bit more than he's doing.
Getting back to the jab. Trying once more to back Larry Sharpe up. There's again the defence from the Canadian. Maybe just wants to see out these 12 rounds. I mean, that'll be a terrific achievement, seeing as he only turned pro 4 years ago and had such limited amateur experience.
I mean, that looked to be the plan in the early stages, but he knows he has hurt Dan, so maybe in the remaining 3 rounds or so, 4 rounds or so, he's going to give it a real go. Just every now and again, let some punches flow. Why not? He's already shaken Dan, but no signs of that at the moment.
Left hook from Scott Dan. And Dan hasn't really shaken Sharpe. Not badly.
He hasn't really jumped on him, he hasn't really got him under control, give him too much movement, too much time.
Well, it's a prestigious belt, the Commonwealth title. And Scott Dann's hoping to become one. Sam Langford, great Canadian, used to box heavyweights. Randolph Turpin, of course. Port Sugar Ray Robinson. We've had the great Dick Tiger held it, 50s, 60s. Tony Sibson, 2 spells in the 80s. And Nigel Benn, who'd forget him, but he was beaten by Michael Watson, who held it for a couple of years, 89 to 91, and most recently Richie Woodall became a world champion. Wonder how far Scott Dann will go. He's got to win this first.
Oh, he's well winning this, surely on all cards. I mean, it's very difficult to look good against an opponent like this, but it's Scott Dann's job to look good. He sold all the tickets, so it's down to him to produce the goods. He's winning the fight, but here's Sharpe.
Oh, he's gone down, hurt. Delayed reaction there, Larry Sharpe, badly hurt, body shot. Or just a little uppercut. An uppercut, I think, got him on the inside. He's not going to make it. And suddenly, Scott Dann becomes the Commonwealth champion with a 9th round knockout to add to his British title. And it is another big night for him in Plymouth. The fans go delirious, and after stubborn resistance from Larry Sharpe, he crumbled from one little shot from down. I think it was just on the inside, Jim.
I thought it was a little clip in the nose. I don't know if a body shot landed before that, but it just looked like an uppercut that caught him on the nose and just seemed to sicken him. I mean, I'm not sure it happened so quickly, so out of the blue. I'm not sure if a body shot landed before that. I don't think so. It just looked like a little uppercut, and I don't know if maybe it's damaged his nose or whatever, but there seemed to be real pain, and it usually, if that's the case, it's a broken nose or whatever, but it just seemed to take everything away from Larry Sharpe just when he seemed to be gaining a little bit of confidence. We're going to see it on replay now.
Well, let's have a look. Just a little left uppercut.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good shot, but I mean, he's standing there, he wasn't standing anyway. I wonder maybe if it's broken his nose, because it just seemed like a sharp pain a couple of seconds after the punch landed. I mean, he stepped back.
They're working on his right eye in the corner, so maybe it just clipped it.
I mean, you don't expect, I mean, a cut eye is all part of the business. I would have expected, like, that looks like a broken bone, like a nose. Or, I mean, who knows, maybe he was ready to go. He didn't give any signs of thinking about quitting, and it was a good punch, there's no question it was a good punch. But it certainly didn't look like a finisher. But, see, there it is. I mean, he just looks in pain and discomfort. He's not stunned, he's not, hasn't lost his senses. Eyes as clear as a bell. Just a painful punch, and maybe he'd shipped enough pain for one night. Thank you.
A strange ending to what was a strange fight. But Scott Dann is the new Commonwealth 11 stone 6 champion, and the story in Plymouth goes on.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 1 minute 32 seconds of round 9, with Larry Sharpe failing to beat the referee's count to 10, the winner by count out and the new middleweight champion of the Commonwealth, Plymouth, Scott Dann. Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation.
Plymouth faithful in here tonight. Scott Dann, knockout number 17, becomes the Commonwealth Middleweight champion.
To the new middleweight champion of the Commonwealth, Scott Dann.
He's got the Lonsdale belt to keep, and now he holds the Commonwealth title.